And I'm calling this meeting of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees to order. Ms. Ramirez, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am. We have Trustee Dr. Gonzalez, we have Vice Chair Dr. Mackey, and yourself. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We will move to item 2, safety message invocation and pledge of allegiance with Ms. Stephanie Burkhart.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll review the evacuation procedures so that we're prepared to be safe in the event of an emergency. If you hear the fire alarm, follow the instructions announced through the PA system. If asked to evacuate, use the glass door to exit outside and verbally alert others. We'll move to the main parking lot in front of the building or the AT&T parking lot at the McCullough Brooklyn bridges. Our security team will be watching and will notify the appropriate emergency services. Lastly, we'll also have employees nearby who are trained to administer first aid if needed. Safety is a top priority, and while we hope this information is never needed, we want to ensure we are prepared. Additionally, we ask that you remain seated during the duration of the meeting, keep the aisles clear, and do not block any exits. Will you please stay with me for an invocation? We come before you today to give you honor and praise. Thank you for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for the opportunity to come and gather today on this day, and we ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting of the CPS Energy Board of Trustees. We ask that you guide and direct our meeting so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work and our goals on this day. Amen. Now, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We will now move to public comment.
Public comment provides an opportunity for members of the public to share thoughts on posted agenda items for this meeting. We invite pre-registered speakers to speak. They may only address the board on CPS Energy related business listed on the posted agenda. Speakers should state their first and last name, the organization or group they represent, and the agenda item they will speak about. We ask that you remain seated until you hear your name called. Additionally, if you have items you would like to share with the Board of Trustees, please provide those to Board Relations, and we will happily share them with the board after the meeting on your behalf. For this meeting, we have one in-person speaker registered. She will be provided with 2 minutes to speak. At the conclusion of the 2 minutes, the screen will flash red and will be asked to stop speaking immediately. We ask that you be respectful of this time allocation. Thomas, please cue the timer. We have Leslie Garton as our registered speaker. I don't believe she's actually present. So in that instance, we have no public speakers at this time.
All right, thank you. Sorry, we're all a little confused today. I am. Sorry. We are moving to my chair's remarks then. So for your safety, we ask that you stay in your seats until you're called to speak, but we don't have anybody speaking, so I can skip that part. 2 things we wanted to talk about today. First of all, we invite you to connect with CPS Energy this summer at ongoing community events. We know the summer months are when customers will see the highest bills because of high heat and increased energy use, but there is a robust schedule of events coming up where customers can visit with the CPS Energy team to learn more about assistance and other resources to help them with their bills. These events help customers learn about energy conservation, rebates, and other programs to help save energy and in return lower their energy bill. There are also many programs that customers can use to help with bill assistance. You can either visit us at a community event or call us directly for any assistance you may need at 210-353-2222. The customer engagement team is always available to help our customers. Again, 210-353-2222. And on the screens, you'll see the latest schedule of some community resource fairs and small and medium business support fairs. Also, obviously, we've been having a significant amount of storm activity this year. We want everybody to stay safe when power outages occur. This year, we have seen more rain from January 1st to June 30th compared to the same period last year. We know that power outages can be frustrating for everyone. Our team puts safety first for our employees and our customers, especially when working in the extreme weather we've seen recently. We have a short video to highlight some of these points.
That requires electricity or medicine that needs refrigeration, check with your doctor when making your plan. Sign up for CPS Energy and local government alerts and follow us on social media. Have battery-powered lights, water, and canned and dried foods that don't require refrigeration on hand. Plan how you'll stay in contact with friends and family. Keep cell phones and phone battery backups charged. Use our online outage map for updates. You can view it on your smartphone. If your neighbors have power and you don't, check your breakers. Unplug equipment and electronics to help protect them from power surges. Keep freezers and refrigerators closed. Only use generators outdoors and according to the manufacturer's instructions. Carbon monoxide fumes are deadly, which is also why you should never use a gas stove to heat your home. If heat or cold are extreme, go to a designated community shelter if you can safely do so. Always avoid downed power lines, even if they don't look energized. Call us at 210-353-HELP if you have an energy emergency. For emergency preparation information and safety tips, visit cpsenergy.com/prepare.
All right, thank you. We now move to item 5, Mr. Alvarez for the interim president and CEO recognition and remarks.
Yes, thank you. There's a single item today on the regular agenda, and it is our Evolve program, our Enterprise Resource Planning Transformation Program update. And Evan is going to have some thoughts on this a little bit later, and we'll formally call out some senior leaders that are from Accenture that are here in the audience. But what I want to just confirm for the board and for our customers listening at home, it's a multi-year effort. It's an enterprise-wide initiative to modernize our systems and processes, and today's presentation will share where we are today and what's ahead. ERP Evolve, which is the overall program, the Evolve program, is anchored in our Enterprise Vision 2030 and Horizon 2050, and is designed to improve customer and employee experience, strengthen reliability and resiliency, expand self-service payment options, and enable real-time data-driven decisions. So it is more than a piece of technology or it is ultimately a force multiplier for our business to make sure that we serve the customers as efficiently as we can and deliver things that will add value to their lives. The ERP program is progressing through detailed design and build stage currently. This will be explained as part of the presentation. Our organizational readiness is also being actively managed through a 300-member change agent network spanning 60 departments, complemented by training, testing, and mock data conversions ahead of each release. We are executing to plan, and we are on budget. Robust governance, our steering and operations committee, our capability groups, and independent verification and validation oversight creates accountability and ensures risk management throughout execution. Immediately following our regular board meeting, we'll transition to the SA Energy Acquisition Public Facility Corporation, or PFC meeting, where we will vote on a resolution for election of officers and review the results of the PFC audit. Following the PFC meeting, we'll have a brief recess, and then we'll convene the Risk Management Committee meeting. Now moving on to the CEO recognition component here. Today I'd like to recognize the corporate communications and marketing teams for their Public Relations Society of America San Antonio Chapter del Oro Awards this year. They received awards for excellence for 3 projects: video storytelling for Light Up Navajo. This video highlighted the work that 22 CPS Energy employees participated in last year. Together, they framed over 140 utility poles, installed 4.5 miles of power lines, and provided families with electricity, families that had never had electricity in their family history. The Light Up Navajo program is more than connecting wires and setting poles. For CPS Energy, it's an opportunity to support fellow public power communities while providing valuable field experience and training for our crews. Social media engagement for the truck, the second item was the social media engagement for the Truck or Truck of Treat Halloween event, one of our most engaged social media posts ever. And the third was internal communication supporting our Veterans Month campaign. They also received merit recognition for our 2025 assistance campaign and storm response. These campaigns have helped our customers with assistance programs and weather-related updates. These awards were given by PRSA judges outside of San Antonio, recognizing the great work being done by our teams across the country. The team attended the award ceremony on May 7th, as you can see from the photo I think that we'll have. Join me in congratulating them for their amazing work. So how do we do this picture? Just like this? Okay.
Thank you all for all the help you give us. All right, we are moving to our consent agenda. I'm sorry, Frank, were you finished? I did not confirm.
I'm finished, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to our consent agenda, item 6A, payment to the City of San Antonio for June 26, and B, minutes from our board meeting held on June 22nd.
Move to approve the A and B.
I have a motion and a second for items A and B. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Dr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vice Chair?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get this right. Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we are moving to our regular agenda. Item 7 is the discussion of board committee reports that are in your packets. A is the CEO Search Committee meetings held on July 6th and July 14th. And then there are several Community Input Committee reports that are all in your packets. Is there any discussion on these items? Hearing none, I will close item 7. We will move on to item 8, which is our main item for today, Enterprise Resource Planning Transformation Program Update with, now that I know the right way to say his name, Mr. Evan O'Mahony.
Yes, well done. Thank you, Chair. All right, good afternoon, trustees. Today I'll be providing our semi-annual update on the Evolve Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, transformation program. In addition to these biannual updates, the last one of which occurred in January of this year, we are also providing more detailed updates in the Technology and Innovation Committee meetings. And I would just like to send my thanks to Trustee Dr. Mackey as well as Trustee Gonzalez for the ongoing feedback and guidance that they are giving through those committee meetings to help ensure that this critical program is successful. So our agenda for today, I'll provide an overall progress update on our program, walk through our release plan. We have had some changes since the last update, so we'll spend a bit of time there. And then I'll look ahead at some of our key activities that are planned for the balance of the year. Overall, I am pleased to share that the program is progressing according to our original plan, and we do remain on budget. So before we get into some of the near-term activities that I'll be speaking to today, I did just want to zoom out and really reflect on the progress that we have made to date on this very large transformation program. As the board may recall, we spent a couple of years really focused on robust and diligent planning activities. Part of that included a number of very large competitive procurement activities. We then focused on onboarding our dedicated program team, as well as mobilizing hundreds of individuals from across the organization that are required to help with this program. Last year, our primary focus was on the global design phase, which really helped us complete all of the necessary data collection to inform the build phase, which is where we are today, and that will allow us to transition over the next couple of years through an iterative release process as we actually go live with our technology systems. Now, as we've been executing all of these milestones from an ERP perspective, we have also been delivering other enhanced experiences for both our customers and our employees in parallel through other aspects of the Evolve digital transformation strategy. Those include things like our rollout last year of enhanced payment options to our customers that now provides them the ability to make payments using digital wallets. We also deployed an online assistance finder, making it easier for our customers to go online and get access to various programs and services that we have available to them. Now, while large transformations of this scope always take time, I will continue to reinforce through today's presentation, as I have in the past, that we remain focused on finding opportunities to deliver value to our employees and our customers as early and as often as possible. And I think a number of the solutions and capabilities highlighted at the bottom of this slide just speak to some of the great progress the team has made in that regard. So now I'll zoom back into the ERP program itself. Again, my last update to you all was in January of this year. So you can see a lot of words here that reflect some of the work that's been done over the first 2 quarters of this fiscal year. I certainly won't read all of these, but do want to highlight just a few things of note. The first is we concluded the global design phase of the program. This provided necessary requirements and quite a few inputs also from a technical perspective to help inform the build phase, which we'll be talking about more in today's update. Also, we continue to recognize the importance of change management, which I know we've talked a lot about in my updates in the past. And we have further activated our leaders and the broader organization to help in this regard. A key component of that change activation was also including accountability systems to really ensure that all individuals engaged with change management responsibilities are documenting that they have successfully completed those, so we can really double down on reinforcing that the appropriate messages are being shared across the organization. A significant amount of time has also been spent baselining the many technical components required to deliver our new technology. This includes things like what data we need to migrate, as well as where we may need to integrate other technology components with this new system. So the collective work outlined here has really allowed us to successfully move into the build phase, as well as complete our planned contract recalibration with our implementation partner, Accenture. So focusing on that recalibration effort, again, this was an important milestone in the program to really give us an opportunity to update or refresh our execution plans following all of the data collection that was completed during that global design phase. The goal as part of this process was really to ensure that we are delivering in the most optimal manner possible. There are 3 primary drivers that were evaluated as part of the recalibration effort. The first was looking at our release schedule. This simply defines when we will go live with what functionality over a period of time. The second component is functional scope. These are the features and functions that we need to configure within the technology platform to support or enable our future business processes. And the third is our technical scope. Very similar to the functional side, these are technical components that must be developed to support those same business processes. So think of integrating with other parts of our technology landscape or bringing the necessary data needed into our new platform. Now, the result of our recalibration has provided flexibility to manage scope, both from a functional perspective and from a technical perspective, as well as has allowed us to de-risk our release plan, which I'll talk about here in more detail in just a minute. I do want to reinforce that the result of this recalibration effort does keep us within our established program budget and the dollar amounts that were previously authorized by the board for this contract. So here's the resulting updated release roadmap. Now, as a reminder for the board, when I updated you in January of this year, our release plan was comprised of 2 releases. Those 2 releases were fairly large in scope. Obviously, you can tell by looking at this slide that there are more than 2 rows here. So we have moved to a 4-release strategy, which again reinforces, as I mentioned earlier, this idea of delivering value to the organization and to our customers as early and as often as possible. We also wanted to, once again, focus on de-risking the implementation of the technology, as well as add adequate time to ensure that all of our change management activities, as well as the readiness needed for our workforce, would be adequate as we looked at the phasing of these different releases. So I'll step through this at a high level. So our first release, which you can see in the first row here, 27-1A, covers all of our back office or administrative functions. This includes things like finance, supply chain, HR, and project management. That will go live in Q2 of next year, currently targeted for the beginning of May. And there is no change to this go-live date. So this was the original go-live in my last update. We then have release 27-1B, which is a fast follow after our first release. This deploys additional HR or human resource functionality to the organization and to our HR teams. This happens 2 months later and is scheduled to go live at the beginning of July. This originally was planned to go live in 2028, so we actually moved this functionality up to deliver it sooner to the organization. The third release, 27-2, focuses on work and asset management, obviously critical to our internal operations. Specifically, this release is focused on our power generation business unit and is scheduled to go live on October the 1st of next year. One of the nice things about this release, this functionality was actually originally scheduled to go live with 27-1A, which would have been quite impactful for our power generation workforce. But this still gives us an opportunity to glean any learnings from our power generation teams before rolling out additional work and asset management functionality. And that brings me to our last release, which is 28-1. This is scheduled to go live at the beginning of February of 2028. This will include all of our customer functionality, as well as the balance of our work and asset management, which will include transmission, distribution, gas, and ancillary work areas across the organization. Now, as with our prior plan, you will notice each of the releases includes a period of hypercare, which provides dedicated resources to make sure that the system is running as expected and that we are able to quickly address any technical or training issues promptly. Now, I would like to briefly highlight some of the great progress that has been made as we've been focused on building our technology for the future. Significant work has progressed to really provide foundational configurations in the new technology platform. You can see a number of different areas here. I'll just highlight a couple. The first, if you take a look at the top row in the middle, from a work and asset management perspective, we have established our future asset hierarchy, so understanding how we will manage our assets in the new technology platform, as well as the supporting work processes that will ensure that we're optimizing our asset management practices across the organization. We've also been focused on base configurations on the customer side as well. One of the things that we remain focused on is improving experiences for our customers, leveraging the technology solution as a catalyst to enable new ways of working. And so some of the things we've been focused on here are the number of steps required when a customer is requesting new service or a move, or the process for customers to enroll in payment plans. All of those business processes have been formalized, and we've been actively working to implement those necessary configurations into the platform. Now, as a reminder, our iterative build process that we are going through allows us to share this progress with the organization and validate that the systems are working as expected and really showcase how they are being set up to support our operations in the future. And I do just want to take a minute to thank all of our team members, both those that are, full-time dedicated into the program, as well as our hundreds of individuals from across the organization that are actively participating in these activities and working diligently to progress this very important work. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the change management effort, and Frank touched on this in some of his opening comments, but one of the key drivers that we recognize of our future success and realizing all of the benefits of this transition is the readiness of our people. We can, spend all of this time implementing new technology, but if our organization and our team members aren't prepared to transition to our new business processes and really leverage all of the capabilities, then we won't achieve, those expected outcomes. So, we remain focused on really doubling down on our change management and readiness work. To support this, we recently activated a change agent network that is made up of over 300 individuals representing 60 departments from across the organization. These individuals have a mix of tenure, which is actually really helpful. We have individuals bringing new, fresh perspectives that maybe haven't been with the organization as long, but also recognizing a lot of the value that comes with our team members that have a really good understanding of the inner workings of our operations. So we're able to grab all of that diverse set of expertise to help inform the program. Now, this group of professionals is not only tasked with sharing relevant information to their respective teams, but they also play a crucial role in supporting the proactive mitigation of risks associated with adoption of these new tools and processes. So really think of this change agent network as our eyes and ears close to the ground, and they're coming back and sharing their insights with the program team, and all of that information is really helping us to inform those tailored change plans that will help as we get closer to implementation. Another key element of our change strategy is really working to meet our organization where they are. This is just another example of how we are doing that. Our ERP program team recently set up shop in our cafe here at our headquarters location to really share various topics with employees as they grab meals or refreshments. We are tracking the results of that. Not only have we directly engaged with a couple of hundred individuals coming in and out of the cafe, but we've actually seen a significant increase in access to our internal tools that are providing more insights into what's happening with the program. So these interactions are actually translating to more proactive effort from our workforce to learn more about what's happening within the ERP program. So looking ahead, we remain full speed ahead for the second half of the year. Quarter three will continue to focus on various build activities. This will include the ongoing configuration and technical work, very similar to where we've been focused on the first half of the year, as well as see a ramp up of our data migration efforts. As you look at the right-hand side in Q4, we'll see more focus around our testing activities that will help to support our first release, as well as the development of our tailored training materials, curriculum, and execution of those change plans that I previously mentioned. Of course, ongoing change management activities and communication is wrapped all around this and will continue as we execute this work. Now, the following two slides really just include a click-in to each of the planned releases to provide more enhanced visibility into some of the key milestones that are critical to ensure our success. So you will notice in each of the releases, we have outlined the testing activities, all of the data conversion work that is required, the training and prep activities, as well as cutover and hypercare. This is actually an area, again, I appreciate Dr. Mackey's feedback here, providing more line of sight into when the organization will get closer to the program and our go-live activities, and I thought this view would be helpful in providing those insights. Now, as a reminder, which we've shared before, if you look at the last row here on this visual, once we complete this initial deployment, we will be transitioning to a continuous delivery model as it relates to deploying additional functionality and capabilities through this technology platform. Our goal is to maximize the investment that we have made and leverage the most through our partnership with Oracle and all of the investment they're making in their technology solutions, and make sure that we're really keeping this solution fit for purpose. And as our business continues to evolve over time, that we are really making sure that the technology keeps up with those evolving business processes. And that concludes my update. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you, Evan. Trustee Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. I want to, I think I had told you this before, I appreciate the time that you took to really dive into these slides with me last week. I want to say that slide 11 is beautiful. I really like it. I think that a lot of the input that you're getting from Dr. Mackey has been just great, because this really helps us visualize where we're at in the process. I do have a couple of questions. So when you were looking at the release roadmap, can you speak a little bit to how much of the budget we've already used and how much is left? And then also let us know how much each additional month, if we had to continue to push some of this release down the road, how much it would cost each month for us to continue.
Yes, ma'am. So here you can see an update on the overall Evolve program. As I mentioned earlier, we do remain, on track with our total spend to date. The total from a core ERP perspective is just under $120 million. These numbers are as of our last quarter end, which was April 30th, and you can see that in the middle bar, the blue section. As we look at executing the program, there are a lot of costs, both with our implementation partner as well as our internal team. From a people resource perspective, when we look at the resources that Accenture is bringing to bear, as well as our dedicated internal team members, we're looking at about $4.5 to $5 million a month run rate for the labor associated with delivering this project.
Okay, thank you. And this is more of a curiosity question, but I'm used to seeing release roadmaps and we push them, further. Why did we accelerate the timeline for the release of 27.1B?
Yes, ma'am. Again, one of the things that we challenge ourselves internally and have some pretty healthy, robust conversation with our technology and implementation partners is this idea of early and often. Many times organizations try to go with a big bang approach where, you start a project like this and everybody goes off, into a room or into a floor and years go by and you flip a switch and hope that everything works the way that it's supposed to. That typically brings quite a bit of overhead and complexity from a change management and readiness perspective. We remain focused on this idea of how do we deploy pieces of the solution as early as we can so we can start getting a return on the investment that we've made. And this is an area where we found an opportunity to say, hey, if we go live with a lot of the core HR functionality, how can we build on that rather than wait another year and a half so the organization can start getting the benefit? And, we were successful in finding a way to get that to fit into the plan.
Great. And my last question is just, on some of the projects that have already been deployed, you talked about the enhanced experience for the customer. I was just wondering how much activity we're actually seeing on that and what challenges we're facing, and is there a process in place for us to get feedback from the customers?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of really good feedback from the customers. We actually ran some social media and marketing campaigns as we went live with this functionality. We've had tens of millions of dollars in customer payments come in through these new payment channels. You know, I mentioned digital wallets. One of the other things I'll plug is American Express, which has been huge for our commercial customers. We previously didn't accept American Express payments, and now we have that available. Another element that we rolled out is our retail payment option. So actually, customers can take their CPS Energy bill into over 100 local retailers, whether it's H-E-B or Dollar General, and pay while they're doing other shopping at the same time. So we leverage our corporate communications and marketing team to go through their normal process to get feedback. Our energy advisors, also help really keep a finger on the pulse in terms of what's working well for our customers and what's not. And we take that feedback and continue to try to roll out new capabilities as often as we can.
Well, thank you so much for the hard work you're doing and for the hard work of your team. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Mackey?
Yes, thank you and your team for the hard work that y'all doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Mackey.
Mayor?
Yes. Thanks for the briefing. For the edification of those listening, if they don't remember your presentation in January, can you explain again I get the early and often, but the order of the releases, and if that has to do with, for example, hey, we wanted to front load those things that would in the long run save us the most money, right? If you can help folks understand what's the logic of the release sequence. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we think about our current technology ecosystem, we have a number of different technology platforms that support different parts of our ecosystem. One of the most varied areas from a technology perspective is in work and asset management. So we actually have 6 or 7 different applications that help manage our assets and our work across the enterprise. That inherently brings with it some added complexity when we think of data migration and change management and all of that. Obviously, that is some of the most critical areas to our operations, right? Maintaining our critical infrastructure, being able to respond timely to outages, sharing relevant updates with our customers. So this release plan is focused first on laying the foundation from a back office perspective. So if you think about, financial management, human capital management, supply chain management, our work and asset and customer functions all sit on top of those kind of foundational enterprise capabilities. So this allows us to put that foundation in place, make sure that we get the technology in place. Things like understanding our general ledger account structure helps to inform then how we manage our work orders and where the costs are going to hit from a financial perspective. So the logic is built in a way that allows us to lay that foundation from a business process perspective. Then we move into the work and asset and customer facing things. But again, work and asset and customer are just inherently longer runways to actually configure, test, and deliver just due to the amount of complexity.
Great, thanks.
I just want to echo what the others have said. Thank you for the background briefing. It was really helpful. And thank you for your enthusiasm on this project. It's really nice to see. I like seeing that. Just wanted to mention, I appreciate the whole change management effort. I've been in organizations where something like this happened and there was no change management, and people end up either hating their job or quitting. So this is a really important piece of it. So thank you. And my nominee for the best slide, although I also like number 11, is number 21, and I can certainly see why you did not present that. It's from the appendix, and it's got a ton of words that we can't see. But if people just want to have questions about what exactly are you doing, it's all in here. It's hard to read. It takes a lot of time, but it's amazing. It's like, wow. And then this, and then this. So it's really helpful if somebody wants something extra to read.
I'll switch my vote to that one.
Would you? Okay. All right. So thank you so much. No more questions? One more?
Thanks for mentioning that. The change management piece is so important. Having seen these large efforts at the Pentagon, you're right. That's kind of where this is successful or where it fails. What I'd welcome understanding, because I know some of the things that will be implemented will increase efficiency, i.e., there may also be less people needed to do that work. So I'd welcome maybe just a memo that talks about kind of the number of personnel that are going to be impacted once this is fully implemented, and what is specifically the plan for those folks, either upskilling or giving them another option for some other opportunity within the organization. I want to understand that. Thank you.
We'll get that to you.
All right, well, we will let you go then. And I just wanted to recognize Steve Bunnett from CIC is here. Thank you for attending today. And Ms. Ramirez, at this time, will you take us into executive session, please?
Yes, ma'am. At this time, the board is going to recess into executive session to discuss matters that have been duly posted under several provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including consultation concerning attorney-client matters under Section 551.071, personnel matters under Section 551.074, to deliberate, vote, or take final action on competitive matters under Section 551.086, and critical infrastructure under Section 551.0761. At the conclusion of executive session, the board will reconvene in open session and continue the meeting. It is 1:43 p.m. as we go into executive session.
executive session, please.
Yes, ma'am. It is 3:02 PM, and the board has concluded executive session. I can confirm that there were no votes taken and no matters were discussed that were not part of the posted agenda. We have a quorum, and we have 4 members present.
All right, did we have any action items from this meeting?
Yes, ma'am. I had one action item in our open session. And that was a request from the mayor on the ERP program that is an explanation or an outline of the efficiencies that we expect to gain with our labor force during the rollout, and an explanation of how that labor will be repurposed, reduced, whatever happens to it.
Anybody have anything else for action items? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay, this meeting is adjourned, and we will shortly start our next meeting. Good afternoon. It's 3:03, and I am calling this meeting of the San Antonio Energy Acquisition Public Facility Corporation meeting to order. Ms. Ramirez, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do. We have one absent. Ms. Janie Gonzalez, who is director, is absent. Otherwise, everyone is here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
So we will move to our consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes from the PFC meeting held January 30th, 2026, and the Directors and Officers Insurance Program approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. I have Director Dr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Director Mr. Kuczynski,
Yes.
Assistant Vice President. Okay, make sure I do this right because we haven't changed yet.
Maybe we should do it in a different order.
Well, we'll skip you for now. Oh, sorry. Right now you are Director Almaraz.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Chair,
Yes.
motion carries. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped Vice President Dr. Mackey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. So we then have the resolution for election of officers. Do you want to walk us through that, Ms. Ramirez?
This is a resolution approving the acquisition of directors and officers. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Resolution for the election of officers. Whereas the San Antonio Energy Acquisition Public Facility Corporation's bylaws call for the election of officers, including a president, vice president, a secretary, and an executive director, and authorize the board of directors to establish and fill other offices that it determines to be necessary. And whereas the corporation previously took action to elect a slate of candidates to serve through January 31st, 2027, and whereas Ms. Julie Johnson, the current Assistant Secretary to the corporation, announced her upcoming retirement from CPS Energy in December 2026, and whereas Mr. Gotham Sringapore has been named Vice President of Finance and Assistant Treasurer for CPS Energy, and whereas Mr. Michael Hale has been promoted to Vice President, Energy Supply and Market Operations, and whereas on June 18th, 2026, the San Antonio City Council appointed Mr. Frank Almaraz, the interim president and CEO of CPS Energy, replacing Mr. Rudy Garza, to the corporation with a term expiring on January 31st, 2027, and whereas the changes in positions and the appointment of Mr. Frank Almaraz require the Board of Directors to elect an updated slate of officers to serve the corporation, and now therefore be it resolved that the following persons shall serve as officers of the corporation in the positions identified below for a term ending January 31st, 2027, provided that an officer whose term on the Board of Trustees of CPS Energy concludes before the expiration of the term as an officer of the corporation shall also conclude their term as an officer of the corporation. President will be Dr. Francine Romero, Vice President, Dr. Willis Mackey, Assistant Vice President, Frank Almaraz, Secretary, Shanna Ramirez, Assistant Secretary, Gotham Sringapore, Treasurer, Lizeth Oliver, Executive Director, Michael Hale. Passed and adopted this 20th day of July, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolution for election of officers. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
I will use the titles that are in place prior to the passing of the resolution until so passed. Director Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Mr. Almaraz.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Mackey.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. All right, this brings us to item 5 with Ms. Lizeth Oliver on our PFC audit results.
Good afternoon. My name is Lizeth Oliver, and I'm the Senior Director and Controller, and today I will be introducing our external auditors. I have Mr. Andy Crouch from KPMG, who has been the concurring audit manager on the engagement for the past 3 years, and with him is Ms. Genesee Tyler, who is he was the audit manager for the engagement this year.
Thanks, Lizeth. Happy to be here. First off, just wanted to talk about our audit process. We've done this audit for 5 years now, but I wanted to say that each year we get better and better. Not only the quality of our people through trainings and experience, the continuity of our teams. For instance, Genesee's been on this engagement for years now, but also the technology that we're using. It changes every year. So we're not sitting on our laurels. I just wanted to comment on the fact that we are improving the quality of this audit every year, even though you might not see that or it's in those slides, but I wanted to make that fact known. As an overview, first off, we did issue the audit report on these financial statements on June 25th. It was an unqualified, or we'll call it a clean audit opinion that was issued. There were no corrected misstatements. There was one uncorrected misstatement that was identified. And I'll note that this is the same uncorrected misstatement that we've talked about, I think, the last 5 years we've done this audit. And I'll repeat that again when we go through a little bit more detail on that later, and happy to answer any questions. Required communications, these are all the things that we're required to communicate to this committee if there are findings. You'll note there's a lot of X's up there, meaning we did not have a lot of findings, and anything that we do want to communicate, we'll talk about in the slides to come over the next 10 or so slides. First off, there were no consultations that we had to discuss with our national office or with other specialists. There were no illegal acts or fraud, actual or suspected legal acts or fraud that were identified through our audit procedures or through our inquiries, and all written communications were signed by management and provided prior to the audit report being issued. The other things is independence and inquiries we'll go through in the slides coming up. So the uncorrected audit misstatement, again, this is a misstatement that's been in this slide deck and identified for the last 5 years. It relates to the amortization of a bond premium. And so what we refer to this as is a non-GAAP policy, meaning management has a policy that just doesn't exactly line up with GASB, but we've determined, as management has, that this does not have a material impact on the financial statements. It just so happens it exceeds a threshold to where we're required to share it with you. This thing, it keeps whittling down year over year, and it will go away once these bonds go away over the next year. We have one significant, or something we consider a significant accounting estimate. Again, it's the same accounting estimate that we've identified over the past few years. We've done our audit procedures over this. Unless someone wants to go into detail, I didn't plan on spending a lot of time on it. But again, there were no findings when we did our audit of this accounting estimate. Financial statement disclosures. Again, it's pretty consistent with what we've had in prior years. These are just disclosures that we put a little bit more focus on. We wanted to bring to your attention, but based on our review and the audit work done, nothing significant to note for the committee today. From an independence perspective, first off, we were independent of the company as of the filing date of our audit report. There are two things to note. We do provide access to our accounting research online to the company, and we also provide access to our learning portal for certain employees to have access to trainings to where they can have CPE, get CPE certifications, and both of those are provided free of charge. But again, as of the date of our audit report, and I can say as of today, we remain independent of the company. And required increase, I just put this up there to show what things we ask management and others prior to issuing our audit report, just to make sure that there's no fraud that we're aware of, or anything that management knows that we are not aware of before we issue our audit report, but there's nothing to note from those inquiries. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Start on my left. Any questions? Questions? All right, thank you. This was just an item for discussion. We don't have a vote on this one. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our closeout. I do not believe we had any action items from this meeting. So do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion adjourned. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, this meeting is adjourned. We are going to take 2 minutes to regroup here for risk management.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. We have the approval of the prior meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Committee Chair, I just want to go ahead and confirm a quorum as we get started.
Sorry, go ahead, thank
Oh,
you.
no problem, you're good.
I move approval of the minutes of the meeting held on November 3rd, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Ms. Ramirez, can you please proceed with the votes?
Yes, ma'am. Chair?
Yeah, which, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Board Chair Romero.
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Board Vice Chair Dr. Mackey? Committee Chair?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, moving to the RMC agenda, we're going to start with a presentation from Ms. Anne-Marie Rangel, going to talk to us about enterprise risk management.
Thank you for your time and engagement today. I'll be giving you an enterprise risk management update. The risk management team has completed the annual risk register refresh, and today I'll walk you through the process that they followed to complete this effort, including how they partnered with the various business units across the organization to identify, assess, and prioritize key risks. The risks identified through the fiscal year 2027 risk register refresh reflect both internal insights and broader industry trends. And collectively, these findings provide a holistic picture of our opportunities and challenge that help to strengthen our integrated planning process. Our integrated planning process not only consists of risk management, but also of our budget development, of our business planning and strategy. And this is all to help us advance towards our Vision 2030 and Horizon 2050 goals. And you have your risk books in front of you if you'd like to take a look at those. And I'll also talk to it throughout the presentation. You will also hear from today's presenters as they discuss.
Just a reminder, the risk register and report is confidential, proprietary, and competitively sensitive. So as you look at the hard copy today, don't distribute it to anybody else.
And we're not able to reference it in our discussion
Correct.
here, correct?
Thank you.
You also hear from today's presenters as they discuss critical work that underscores the need to anticipate and effectively manage risks, which reinforces the importance of continuing to strengthen our people, process, and technology. In recent risk committee meetings, I've noted that many of the risks previously discussed in various board forums remain relevant and persistent. Much of the risk landscape has remained consistently dynamic, and we continue to navigate a very complex and rapidly changing environment. The slide depicts current headlines in Texas and in San Antonio. It also displays how the risks are complex and interconnected. In Texas, we continue to experience explosive demand and growth, changing generation mix, reliability under stress, affordability concerns, market volatility, infrastructure and financial challenges, as well as regulatory and policy evolution. These trends increase cost and operational complexity, requiring continued investment and adaptation in both regulatory and market design in order to maintain a reliable, affordable, and clean energy. More demand requires more infrastructure, and more infrastructure requires more cost, and more cost can lead to affordability concerns. So you can see there's no shortage of risk here. In parallel, in San Antonio, we are reimagining our system in real time to meet future energy needs. So we layer these external factors onto our more organizationally specific risks, such as leadership transition, stakeholder trust, brand, and organizational transformation. Together, these factors, as I mentioned, require us to take an integrated approach to risk and planning so that we balance today's priorities while preparing for tomorrow's challenges. Overall, the predominant challenge is no longer just to provide energy, but it's also to provide enough energy that is reliable, affordable, and clean. So I just discussed what is in the headlines and what current risks we are looking at, but we also want to take a look at our long-term risks, especially as we move towards Vision 2030 and Horizon 2050. And so we consider the Protiviti and North Carolina State University Risk Survey as a benchmark. Our benchmark, along with our internal insights, helps us to prioritize the risks that are most significant to our organization. The risk survey actually highlights how risks are shifting from operational concerns to strategic business model pressures. Utility risks are a portfolio of blended risks. We have digital, financial, and workforce layered on top of traditional operational risks. And so, again, the primary risk or challenge that we have is really managing all these risks simultaneously as demand and technology are continuing to change. And so we use these insights, current and long-term, to help prioritize investments, make informed decisions, and maintain alignment to our vision. So what does that mean for our enterprise risk register refresh? Well, risk management team will share all of our insights with the organization this one time a year where it's really focused on around risks. While we have risk-informed discussions throughout the year, this is the one time where the entire organization is focused. And so communication around the identification of risks really starts at the top with senior executive leadership. They help us to set our strategies and challenge our assumptions and priorities. And then we work with the entire organization to receive feedback and get feedback around risks and challenges and opportunities. I call out safety and operations specifically on this particular slide because I want to place importance on the idea that they underpin our ability to manage many of our other strategic and operational risks. A strong operational foundation is essential in delivering reliable service, executing capital investments, maintaining regulatory compliance, and protecting our workforce commitments. And so once we get our feedback from the organization, then we look to leadership to help us identify and assess our risks, to escalate any risks that we need to discuss, and we also look to our leadership to help us identify mitigations. And through the risk management program and framework, we then take all of this information and share this with our integrated planning partners. As I mentioned, this is our strategy group, our budget development team, and business planning team. So you can see we have a very structured approach. Next, I want to talk about risk assessment. As part of our risk assessment or risk identification, risk register refresh, we have to assess our risks. And so I want to take a moment to explain our risk assessment process. We ask our risk owners to utilize their expertise and experience to rate or score two factors, which are impact and probability. And they are doing this with predetermined categories. And then we take through impact and probability and multiply the score for a calculation that then determines a risk level of low, medium, high, and SWAN. So if you look to the heat map, you can see that our top risks are high. And so that is very consistent with our methodology. And so this is, for us, an appropriate way, an industry standard way of looking at our risk rankings so that we have a focus. Moving on to our enterprise risk register refresh, I did mention we have an identification of risk, we have an assessment of the risks. We're always looking to improve our risk program. And this year, what we did is, while we have our quantitative assessment, which is how we assess our risks normally, and for many years now, we added a qualitative methodology, which is really a good discussion around our risk ranking where we discuss the quantitative analysis, and we have executive leadership who come in and have healthy debate about the ranking and whether or not the way we assessed our risks initially really provides that focus that we need around our strategies so that we can advance towards our goals. This year, we conducted that initiative. It was very effective and super productive. We are going to make it a permanent process of our methodology, of our framework. And if you look at your risk register books on page 2, you can see that we have the top risks there, and that was really reflective of the good discussion that we had around the qualitative and quantitative analysis. And so year over year, from fiscal year 26 to 27, we had a high and SWAN risk increase of 7%, and the total number of risks decreased by 3%. And this is really due to a consolidation of risks and removing some duplicates. But very successful year for the risk register, I think, with the improvement. I think it was much more effective. For additional assurance, for our risk register, the team looks at industry perspective, industry benchmarks, so that we can ensure that we have focus on the the most significant risks to the organization. So we looked at Gartner, Protiviti, and Deloitte. And if we look at the benchmark, we can see that a lot of these risks are similar. Our risk register has similar themes. So although each organization evaluates risks through a different lens, the conclusion is that convergence of these independent assessments reinforces that we are focused on the enterprise risks that are most significant to our strategy and operations. Where our assessment differs is in the prioritization. While the industry reports on broader topics and trends, our enterprise risk assessment reflects the unique operating environment specific to us. Still, we do want to improve our risk management process, and we do want to get as much feedback as we can. And so what we are proposing is that before the end of the fiscal year, before we start the new fiscal year, we would like a working session with the Risk Management Committee so that we can get input into our risk register. This is in alignment with conversations we've had with the Risk Management Committee Chair and as well as with our committee charter. We feel that this would provide additional strategic oversight, validate risks, enhance alignment, and further strengthen our governance. And so that is something for consideration. We would be more than happy to facilitate a conversation to garner more risk management committee insight. So our risk focus is to partner and collaborate with the organization, improve visibility, enhance risk intelligence, increase clarity on interdependencies, and leverage our enterprise risk management maturity self-assessment. The self-assessment is located within the risk report. I think it is on page 11, I believe. We are in alignment with our peers. Again, we would like to improve our risk management program, and we do feel that the risk committee insight would be one of those things that can help us further our program and mature our risk posture. So what does this really mean for CPS Energy? Why do we have a risk management program, and why is it important? It's important because we have, as I mentioned before, a broad breadth of risks that we have to manage simultaneously. And this approach, risk management approach, gives us that balanced, risk-informed perspectives so that we are focusing on the most appropriate and significant initiatives. And so today, you'll hear more about the balanced risk-informed planning and growing complexity of safety, workforce, and operations. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Runhill. Does the board have any questions? I'll start over here on the left. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Yeah, I'd welcome a more in-depth conversation. We just obviously got the register today, so it'd be helpful to spend some time with it. But also, you know, as we're thinking about how our ability to manage risk interplays with our how we're seen by financial agencies, right, would be helpful for this body to understand. So I look forward to that discussion. Thank you.
Yes. Any questions on the right? No? Okay, no, and I just want to comment, I appreciate the qualitative measures that you guys put into the register this year. As we spoke at the committee meeting, I just want to stress with the members here that we're working on making sure that we do have a work session next quarter. I think that part of the process should include the feedback from the trustees themselves also, so that we can help align with what the priorities are. And so we'll be doing that in probably November, December, which is when they start to do the refresh again. Okay, let's go ahead and proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to Mr. Jose Trevino, who will be providing a field workforce development enhancement presentation. Thank you, Mr. Trevino.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Jose Trevino. Pop up the presentation here a little bit. The Interim Chief Operating Officer. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Distribution Workforce Development Program and the enhancements that we've been making. Really driving a culture of continuous improvement in the development of our field employees is going to be pivotal for their safety. We have really made a big effort to try and implement direct controls, and I'll show some of those direct controls we've made through our trainee program and apprenticeship program as they become journeymen. This aligns with our mission and vision 2030, of course, on the team excellence is for the development of our employees, distribution employees. This is how we are developing our alignment. I'll start with the Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, JATC. It's comprised of management and union leadership together supporting our field employees. We are DOL, Department of Labor certified for our lineman program. And the representation between these groups is 50-50, 12-member committee from our union leadership and also CPS Energy management. Some of the updates that we've started to make in the past few years is looking at our accident prevention guidebooks, our APG. We want continuous improvement on these items, and annual review of this is allowing us to ensure that we are applying direct controls and, more importantly, ensuring that the direct controls are in line with how we actually do work in the field. Again, it will ensure that we have some consistent practices in the field, and by doing that, we are looking at our standards and periodically updating our APGs to ensure that we reflect any changes that may come up in the industry. I'll talk a little bit through our programs, our trainee program and our apprenticeship program. We have a 7-year process now for our linemen. We bring them in as trainees on the distribution side with a 4-year program in front of them for their steps of progression. We have several qualifiers along the way, 5-month trainee test, qualifiers by year to include top rescue. I put that in there because that's a very early adoption of a life-saving skill for our employees. This is when they actually get to practice and go up to the top of a pole to simulate any rescue from the top. 3-year testing, and then pre-apprentice qualifiers. Again, this includes some items that we started doing this year, our industrial athlete, to ensure that our folks are ready for the physical rigor that happens when they go back to the apprenticeship program. Our apprenticeship program, it's a 3-year program. We've enhanced the qualifiers of the method of testing knowledge and the hands-on skills of employees. It's very important that we have a consistent output coming from our programs. We want folks to ensure that they can trust that they have the knowledge necessary to ensure that they're at a similar skill level, so that our foremen and our journeymen understand that our apprentices coming through the program are going to have a minimum knowledge requirement. We did add a Timson unit. This allows our apprentices to actually practice on voltages that we have out in the field. It has minimal current going through it, so it protects the employees to ensure that there wouldn't be any electrical shock on the system when they're actually practicing in the back. We've added additional craft training, so we expanded from a 2-year program to a 3-year program, again, working in alignment with the Department of Labor. The additional areas include underground specific tasks and also troubleshooting basics. Whenever we have storms, those troubleshooting basics come in handy. That is what our folks use out in the field. We've added more structure from a charter and steering committee oversight to the JATC committee. That really allows us to ensure that we are giving our employees the resources that they need based on items that are coming out from that committee. And it allows us to ensure that we're informed on what program changes are coming. So why make these changes and why do I come here to you today? We do have a high percentage of field personnel that are retirement eligible. And there is a gap in experience level. I'll show a chart here in a little bit. The time to make a journeyman level employee, like I said, this is a 7-year program. Big improvement from how we used to run the program. It was really developed on vacancies would drive progression, right? So vacancies in our journeyman levels would drive an apprentice being made. Very different now that we have a very structured 4-year and 3-year program, which allows for our folks to continuously develop into a journeyman lineman. This kind of explains some of the things on why the changes were important, and we continuously look to make improvements. On our foreman side, right, our most senior folks, our supervisors out in the field, 98% retirement eligible. Average tenure of those employees, you can see, is close to 30 years. Next level is our journeymen. 22% of them are retirement eligible. Average years of tenure, again, just slightly under 20 years. You start to see the gaps that are there in the years of tenure based on having a program that was not driven by an actual training curriculum that would allow folks to progress through their time here at CPS Energy. And there are apprentices and trainees. Their average tenure here is slightly under 5 years, so about 3.5 years of tenure. We are continuing to develop the qualification process and the program itself. Again, having qualifiers ensures that our field workers are having readiness checks throughout their careers prior to entering the apprenticeship program. It sets the bar for minimum qualifications upon completion, and then we do have reduced time requirements in training environment, which allows us to have more on-the-job, hands-on training, which is very critical for our employees in the field. It does allow for a continuous learning environment. Evolutions that don't occur very often are very good to be trained more constantly. So if you don't have things that come up often, or employees only do things based on work that comes up, you're not always going to have the same level of remembering that task. So it's important to kind of review it again. All levels will receive continuous training qualifications, right? This is, again, a big change from our current practices. We have in the past, when we make a journeyman employee, no longer get training for them. That is not consistent with what we should be doing. We are going to provide training for them and have more enhanced training for more critical tasks that they would do, which includes those items that are not done very often. And it is going to create a shift in entry level for field employees. Qualifiers and testing do allow us to develop a process to hire at different levels. Right now, I kind of spoke through, we hire through the training program and train them, all the employees on what we need them to have the skill level by the time they make a journeyman level employee. What we are moving to is to ensure that we could create a process where we could test those skill levels and hire folks in at different levels. This will help close the gap on experience levels as new employees come in with on-the-job training experience. This is one of the areas, I think, as we fully develop it, that where we are going to work and try and find some partnerships where we can bring some employees in that have different skill levels that they've obtained through trade schools and other programs that are out there that could allow us to bring employees ready to come in at either a trainee level, a pre-apprentice level, or even potentially an apprentice level as we move forward. And I will take questions now.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Does the board have any questions? Mayor?
Thank you for the presentation. As you were just talking there about kind of the supply of talent, I'd encourage you, if you haven't already, look at what Dr. Flores has done with the Alamo Technical Institute, which is recently established, but they've done a great job, I think, of focusing their efforts on certain trades that I think may dovetail nicely into what you're looking for. So if you haven't already, please reach out to those folks. Secondly, whenever I think about kind of pipeline and workload, I think about a conversation we had at the budget season last time, and it was Chief McManus, and I asked him what his budget requirement was based on, and he said workload. And so if we can modify the workload or modify the requirements, then that kind of affects everything else. And so as I was listening to your presentation again, and maybe it dovetails into the conversation we'll have here shortly, but I'd welcome us, and however you can frame it, and maybe not right now, maybe you have to take some time and think about it, but how do we think about modifications in our requirements and how they then impact either safety or levels of training, et cetera, et cetera. So what do I mean by that? For example, we've talked often about the higher cost relatively of buried lines, right? But if that then means that is kind of less response time needed because it's now not as susceptible to extreme weather events, if that means there's less type of that kind of work related to maintaining exposed lines, which mean you need fewer people, fewer training, et cetera, I wonder if we've done kind of a really holistic cost analysis of how some of these infrastructure modifications actually have cascading effects on not only safety, but also requirements when it comes to personnel in the near term and in the long term, right? Because then maybe we don't need as many, maybe the need then isn't as dire in some of those places based on the level of work that we now anticipate related to a different kind of infrastructure. So I'd welcome us understanding that maybe you have something like that already, other than obviously buried lines just being more aesthetically pleasing. If we had some quantitative assessment that helped us also understand some of the secondary, especially cost-saving impacts of that'd be super helpful.
Okay, thank you for the feedback, ma'am. And yes, definitely have seen, I know there's some other coastal ready for work, but also with the Multi-Technical Institute looking at those programs as well. So, and appreciated the second comment, and thanks for the feedback.
Any questions on this side? Chair?
Kind of similar, but I wanted to ask what kind of outreach that you do with high schools to, I mean, even like at junior high schools, but even at the early high school level to start getting kids thinking about it, getting prepared to maybe be going to the trade school instead of necessarily taking all the AP courses and all that kind of stuff. So what are you doing at the early stages?
We are aware of, like, there are a lot of technical schools. We have construction science school, right, that's out there at Warren High School, I believe. And so there's a lot of high schools out there that we do outreach for students to see. We have our great internship program that we do here every summer. And so we have a lot of interns that participate in that throughout the year for us. Even as they get into more of the trade schools, we also have some trade students that come and have internships with us as well. As part of this program, those are the future enhancements that we look to improve on those items, especially for the lineman programs, looking at pre-apprentice opportunities for folks that really would allow us to go to trade schools that do that, or even target some of the local high school students. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Okay. I think it's great that we're continuing to make these type of investments in our employees. I've had the privilege of being able to go out to some of these different plants as I was getting into the board, and we have an amazing workforce. I think going along the lines of what the mayor was saying, it would be great for us to be able to have a better understanding of the impact and the success of these programs. So maybe for next time, if we could see something like who's eligible, how many of those that are eligible are enrolling and completing these programs, whether it's the trainee or the apprenticeship programs, and how that's impacting things down the road, like either safety, but also what metrics are you guys looking at to define success of these programs? I think if we can do that, we also understand how this is impacting much of what she was saying as well. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the feedback.
Okay, let's go ahead and proceed. And I'm going to apologize in advance if I say your last name incorrectly. Mr. Bert Hargesheimer? Close? You're going to be providing a safety program enhancement presentation. And how do you pronounce it?
Hargesheimer.
Hargesheimer. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's no sh.
It's German?
German, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm grateful this afternoon to talk about the risks associated with keeping our workforce safe. As we continue advancing safety here at CPS Energy, I'm going to talk about a couple things today. First, I'm going to talk about a more comprehensive view of safety than we typically have shared with the board. In addition, I'm going to talk about directing our resources so that we're focused on the right safety issues. And I'll close with our transition plan to sticky, or stuff that can kill you, metric. So why is a comprehensive view of safety important? I'll start by talking about our current primary safety metric, which is recordable incident rate. OSHA was founded in 1970 and quickly implemented recordable incident rate as a way of measuring safety performance, and it was adopted by all industry and became the established standard for up until recently. While recordable incident rate provides some great information about safety, there's some challenges with it, 4 of them in particular. The first is statistical validity. With the amount of hours that CPS Energy works, in order for our recordable incident rate to be statistically valid, we would need 10 years of data. When you look at the chart, you can see by the confidence intervals that indicate, based on previous performance, how our performance would be expected to happen each year. It's a pretty wide range. And you can see that each year, as a company, we've fallen within that range, except fiscal year 24 when we exceeded it significantly. 3 other challenges with recordable incident rate are severity. Recordable incident rate treats the injury where a worker is unable to work for a month the same as the injury where the employee is able to go right back to work that same day. In addition, recordable incident rate does not provide a good, accurate measurement of the safety program. And finally, it's a lagging metric, so it can cause undesired behaviors. So the opportunity that we have with a more comprehensive view starts with a research-based 6-dimensional look at what a safety measure should have. You can see in the yellow the recordable incident rate has 3 of those covered very well: objectivity, clarity, and importance. Our goal with adding 3 additional metrics to the view is to round out that perspective. I'll highlight 2 of them: observations and first aids. First, looking at observations, CPS Energy has had an observation program for the past 10 years with the intent to ensure that we're having robust safety conversations with our field personnel out there in the field. So how will we use those observations to turn that into something that's indicative of performance? Also, from the recent research, we've learned that when there's a release of high energy and there's no direct controls present to protect workers, a serious injury is more likely to happen, which is something none of us desire. So recently, we've added high energy to our observation focus, with the idea being that we will transition towards a high energy controls assessment. You can see in the exposure picture on the left, we had chemical high energy hazards that weren't properly stored in order to protect our workers from those hazards. This enables us to identify it and then fix the situation so that we are preventing that risk for our employees. You can see on the right, with success, in that situation, we've got the high energy hazard of falling. And when our workers work in buckets, they have a safety lanyard that they clip into the bucket that protects them from falling. I'll add another example. With our recent storms, our overhead linemen typically, about a third of the time, have to climb poles in order to restore service. This introduces 2 high energy hazards. First is climbing the pole. When our workers climb the pole, they have what's called a buck squeeze. So should they lose their footing, it will prevent them from falling. In addition, they have the hazard associated with energized lines, which is why recently we adjusted our SAIDI metric to account for the need to de-energize those lines so that our workers can complete those restoration efforts safely. As we've introduced the high energy language and across industry, we've found that having plain language is extremely important and that high energy doesn't really resonate. Sticky, or stuff that can kill you, translates into more relatable terms. And the goal being a common language that helps us all be on the same page. So with this better information, we can better understand how we're performing with safety. You can see with sticky success, or stuff that can kill you success, that's a situation where there was a release of high energy, there was a direct control present, and there was no serious injury sustained. We had 15 incidents like that so far this year. You also can see with sticky potential, that's a situation where we had a release of high energy. There was not direct controls in place, and we were fortunate to not have a serious injury sustained. And I'm happy to report that so far this year, we have had no sticky actual situations where high energy was released, we didn't have direct controls, and somebody's life was impacted. In order for sticky to work, it's extremely important and reliant that we have strong near-miss reporting. Most of these incidents are near misses. In order to do that, we've got to have strong psychological safety. So that leads me to our first aid data. Our first aid reporting helps us understand how we're promoting or impacting psychological safety with our workforce. In fiscal year 21, Rudy made it a point to emphasize the importance of reporting injuries and getting care from our great occupational health team. You can see with that emphasis, and over time, we've continued to improve the amount of first aid injury reports each year. This provides two outcomes. First, an improved psychological safety, as well as 60 more opportunities to learn about the work environment that our folks are undertaking. So what have we learned? With both our first aid data and our reportable incident data, our most prevalent injuries are strains and sprains. No surprise to anybody. So how do we protect our workforce from that? 15 years ago, we started a stretching program with the intent to improve on our strains and sprains. We saw immediate improvement from that program. We've continued it. Now we're evolving that to include our industrial athlete program in order to take this to the next level. The work that we do is awkward. Our folks are doing work up in buckets in the air. They're doing work in trenches. No two job sites are the same. With the industrial athlete program, we are coaching in groups and individually, and starting with our tenured folks, we're helping them to adjust the way that they do work. We're helping them to understand how to use their body properly and helping them to deal with aches and lingering pains. With our new folks, Jose addressed some of the things that we're doing to help our trainees and apprentices adjust to the work. We're also doing acclimation training with them to help them be more prepared physically to do the work and to help them build good habits from the beginning. I'll next take a moment to talk about another risk. CPS Energy has roughly 1,400 on-the-road vehicles. How are we mitigating that risk? About 5 years ago, we implemented telematics with the intent of being able to reduce stolen vehicles and help public safety find them when they're stolen. One of the things that we gained with that program was information about our driving behavior. You can see with the inputs, things like speeding, harsh braking is now available for our drivers. It was important to us that we use that information wisely and that it wasn't used in a punitive manner with our workforce. So we looked at it with predictive modeling to see, was there a correlation between those inputs and motor vehicle accidents? We found a correlation. So we developed some interventions to help educate and improve our drivers' behavior. The first was the driver scorecard. Each driver gets a scorecard with the at-risk behaviors that they exhibited in the previous day. Their manager also gets that scorecard, and with coaching, helps that driver to improve what they're doing. In the pilot that we did, we found a 20% decrease in at-risk behaviors, thereby impacting our motor vehicle accident risk. I'll close today with our 2030 sticky metric transition. As I started with, recordable incident rate has been our primary metric for a long time. We'll continue to have that as our primary measure for the next 3 years while collecting sticky data and trending that so that we can learn and be prepared for a transition in fiscal year 30, for that to be our primary measure. We will continue to trend recordable incident rate and use the information we gain with that to keep our workforce safe. In addition, we will use HECA, the High Energy Controls Assessments, to help us proactively make our job sites safe for our workforce. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time today. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions from the left?
No.
From the right? Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
I know you're doing this, and I know it's in here. It's a lot of information. Some of it's a little bit confusing to me. But I guess just two things in the future I'd like to see addressed more squarely. One is heat impacts and what we're doing with heat impacts to our employees. And the second one is more about not so much the individual incidents that are happening, but the long-term impact on people's health. So So stuff they might not even know about is happening on a daily or monthly basis, but over time, something that they need to be aware of.
Sounds good. We can do that.
Thank you. I find this presentation especially interesting. I do have some questions for you. When you're describing a high energy hazard, to you, are you defining it as sticky? And when you say stuff that can kill you, I mean, how are you determining what falls into that category?
Great question. We provided a board supplement from Construction Safety Research Alliance. They've done a lot of research that backs that data. 1,500 joules is the designation for high energy. And so where there's high energy and where it's been released and there aren't the protections, the likelihood of a serious injury results. A serious injury being a life-altering, life-threatening, life-ending injury. And there's we can share it with the board, but there's a specific definition of a serious injury.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And then as far as the reporting process, how are the employees trained on, I know like in medicine, especially on the research side, when there is an adverse event, which would kind of be the same thing as a high hazard event, there's a certain amount of time frame depending on the severity of the hazard, how soon you have to report it. Are there measures like that in place here to say these have to be reported immediately within 24 hours, within 72 hours?
Yes, ma'am. We ask that all of our employees report every injury as soon as possible, recognizing that them reporting it immediately might not be the easiest thing. So we want them to report it as soon as possible.
And then if you go to slide number 9, you talk about how over the years we have seen the reporting of incidents increase, right? So my question here is, how were the other variables taken into account? Meaning, how do we know it's not, are you saying more people are reporting? How many can be attributed to, was there a difference on the age or experience that people had in the field, weather conditions, even heat impact, things like that? Were those variables taken into account when you guys were looking at these?
We can provide that data. What we've seen is report onlys or incidents where an employee reports just, hey, I've got an ache, but I don't need to see the Occ Health team. Those have gone down. Our recordable incidents have been kind of up and down in the same time frame, so that there's no correlation between that. But the first aids have gone up during that time frame. And we do track data on time of day, weather, job title, all of those things. So if there's something like that you'd like to see some views of that, we'd be happy to provide that.
Have you guys seen any trends?
Our biggest trends tend to be our newer employees under 5 years and our more experienced employees over 25 years.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on with Mr. Jonathan Homer, who's going to be providing an advancing operational resilience through business continuity presentation.
Well, good afternoon. I'm excited to be able to be here and to be able to share some thoughts with you. My name is Jonathan Homer. I'm the Chief Security Officer and the VP of Integrated Security. Every year we have the opportunity to be able to bring a presentation to this committee which talks about how the pieces come together and how we're able to ensure that the tools, the processes, and the people are working in harmony to be able to ensure that we're operating most effectively in response to when situations aren't ideal. And specifically, when it's not a blue sky day or when we're dealing with some type of unconventional or undesirable situation, how we can work through that process and do so as a team and do so in a predictable, concise, and cooperative manner. Today, I want to be able to walk us through the difference between emergency response and business continuity and what that means here at CPS Energy and why we distinguish between them. We'll talk a little bit more about the plans that exist in both, and then we'll bring it all together and talk about how we use the appropriate controls to be able to facilitate a holistic and a seamless approach, and how we're ensuring that we continually are improving that as we move along each and every year. So we know that both for us here at CPS Energy, as well as the industry and the nation as a whole, that the risks that we face are growing on an annual basis. Whether we're talking about everything from weather to cyber to supply chain, the risks are growing in all the categories. And pertinent for this conversation, The complexity of them overlaying or being on top of each other is a growing concern and something that we have to be able to counter and understand. It is highly likely in today's society or today's world where during a weather event, we may also be dealing with a supply chain interruption or may also have some type of aging infrastructure that adds to the complexity of what we need to be able to work through. The concept of business continuity and emergency response is about not just reacting to those moments, but walking into those moments prepared with our eyes open, with a plan in place, and being able to work harmoniously and effectively in communicating to be able to get through those moments together as a team. The business continuity program that I have the opportunity to be able to oversee has 4 primary things that we are focused on. First of all, and at the top of the list, we want to ensure that the essential services in our operations are able to continue both during and after an event. Regardless of what the cause is, we want to ensure that we are continuing to produce the services that our community depends upon most. Along with that, the program also goes through and works to identify the critical functions, the areas that are where business units come together, where there is cross-dependency between organizations. We work to establish standards that ensure we're able to measure, monitor, and assure effectiveness throughout that program. Third is that we maintain the plans, the procedures, the documentation that outlines and gives us written guidelines that we can follow during the emergency itself, so that it's not just a moment of everyone coming into a room and throwing their hands up and going, what should we do? But we walk in with a plan, and we've tested that plan, and we've proven that plan, and we use repeatable processes that are adapted in the moment, but we walk in with a plan before we even begin. And finally, the fourth one, which is to come in with training and exercises and continuous improvement activities that keep those plans refreshed, keeps our tools effective, and keep our people sharp and up to speed, that as we have everything from turnover of key employees through the maturation of various risks and situations, that we're keeping ourselves relevant and applicable to all situations and all environments that we may face. So what's the difference between emergency response and business continuity? Here at CPS Energy, we clearly distinguish between them because of the way that we've architected our business continuity program. Emergency response deals with the side of the house that is about in the moment. The titles of the plans and the scope that what they cover are very much about a specific type of event. We'll see a list here in just a moment. But this gives us the checklist, the guidelines, and the processes by which we might respond to something like a hurricane or a cyber event. The focus of an emergency response plan is to respond, to get control of a situation, and to ensure that we are reacting and comprehensively considering all the things that that type of event brings to the table. It tends to be a very tactical and a very short-term type of document and guide. Business continuity plan, on the other hand, is focused more around a business unit or a function. This goes out, and this is an agnostic of cause plan to ensure that we understand how to keep things running, how to keep things stable and be reliable. These tend to be longer term, and they tend to be focused on a business unit or a specific plant or cases like this. These are not used in silo. In fact, in almost every instance, we're going to bring up at least one or more emergency response plan and multiple business continuity plans to have them all working together as a form of checklists that we ensure we're addressing all of the things that we need to in the moment. We follow what's called the National Incident Command System, or ICS. This is a national framework that you'll hear talked about throughout the United States, and most specifically with our partners here in San Antonio. This is what the city uses. This is what Bexar County uses. This is what the federal government uses. And so when we walk in and we refer to our terminology, whether we're talking about roles or processes, reporting structures, et cetera, we are using both a common structure and a vernacular that everyone is familiar with and we can snap in place. We're not referring to humans' names as much as by title. So every organization has some type of incident commander, and we know that they're decision maker at the top. Everyone has a section chief over logistics, meaning that they're handling the logistics portion. And this title reference gives us the ability to ensure that we're continually being able to clearly communicate and roll through that process. When we talk about the emergency response plans, we have 16 of them within CPS Energy. And as I mentioned, these are really about the moment or the event that causes us to deviate from standard operating procedures. So it could be something like a health event. It could be something like a storm or a wildfire. All of these go in and they provide the written plan, and generally you can think of them as checklists and procedures. They provide the checklist that we should think about. So in the case of a wildfire, it outlines and says, please make sure that we go through and think about 1 through X number of items in that list. Or in the case of, say, a data breach, it makes sure that we comprehensively address all the topics that are required by regulation, that we've identified through risk analysis, that we've gone through and discussed and talked about as business units cooperating together. This gets us to a very topical application of this type of discipline to ensure that we're not missing anything in the heat of the moment. Our plan components come in and they include things as we're sitting in preparatory discussions, talking about things like hazard assessment to make sure we're considering all the different things that need to be considered from hazards or risk or safety. It includes things like partner coordination during a specific type of event. Who are the partners that we need to be engaging with? This could range everything from our federal partners like FBI or DHS down to our local partners. Someone like RSOC or Texas Cyber Command might include our local Bexar County Sheriff's Office or COSA to that regard. This is defined within, among other places, our emergency response plans. Incident response is really about being able to contain situations as quickly as possible and being able to restore safely to our standard operating process and dealing with all situations. When we talk about business continuity plans, these are the longer-term plans. There are 23 plans that directly relate to operations and another 34 that deal with our support functions. These plans go out and ensure that regardless of the type of attack or the type of situation that we're dealing with, we're able to keep a business unit steady, that no matter what hazard we're facing, that function of the business continues to be able to deliver what it needs so that other business units can depend upon it. As you see here, we have 1 per power generation site that we have out in the field. Same thing for EDS of major functions that they perform. On our support side, all of our major business units, this is not for every service that they deliver, it's for the major ones which operation depends upon and are essential for our business to maintain continuity. Those plans take a consideration like alternate work locations, backup resources, how communications will be maintained during less than ideal situations, as well as containing the return to normal steps. What does it take to get us back into normal SOP conditions? All of these plans continue to mature and develop, driven by both regulatory expectations. Every year there are additional things that we need to take into consideration, and we go through and update our plans. Also internal maturity, and I'll mention in just a few slides about how we go through that process. Now, what does effective business continuity plans look like? In the heat of the moment, whether we have plans and are prepared or not, you gather in a room and you talk and you build a strategy. When you don't have effective planning and preparation, you end up in a situation where you see the things on the left: confusion, misaligned actions, problems with resources, and operational breakdowns. When we do have the right plans in place, when we've practiced the plans and exercised and drilled and improved over time, we start to see metrics like faster recovery, we see prioritized actions, and we see reduced downtime. It also allows us to work clearer and communicate more cleanly with our partners. And as we've been investing in the business continuity program over the last several years, we've seen a direct correlation with our ability to integrate with and deliver results to our community, to our partners, and to our customers. So let's put this together. This is just a hypothetical scenario on the screen, but this is a condition where, as you'd see in orange, if in the case that we have an approaching storm on the horizon has not yet arrived, we would activate on the left our event plans, our incident management plans, or emergency response plans. There's an overarching, what's called the Enterprise Incident Management Plan. It's kind of the governance framework that holds it all together. That would be activated, as would our storm response plan. In addition to this, and again, this is a hypothetical scenario, perhaps it's targeting, or there would be a reason that we felt the Northwest Service District was going to be affected. So we would activate their continuity plan. Also potentially the Calaveras plant, and in this case, we've highlighted the safety plan. We would bring all 5 of these plans together to be able to facilitate a cohesive checklist of items we need to ensure that we cover, as well as bringing the key stakeholders into the room or onto the incident bridge to work together as a holistic team. Now, in this scenario also, if we got to a point that we needed to perform a facility evacuation, for any reason we needed to evacuate a facility, we weren't anticipating this, but we were prepared. And so we would use a facility evacuation plan, activate that plan, follow the steps, which we've planned and practiced, to be able to do so in a clear and concise manner. This is just an example of how this is an ad hoc process. Let me say that differently. This is a process that are puzzle pieces that fit together based upon what we need and allowing us to focus on what's important given the current dynamic scenario that we find ourselves. This is a continual improvement process, and so after every activation, whether that be a drill, an exercise, or an actual event, we conduct a lessons learned discussion and we capture action items. Those action items are rolled into updates for our plans and our processes, as well as ensuring they're captured in training material that's passed down to all of the players who participate and are engaged in the overall team. In addition, our formal plans are submitted up to Texas PUC annually, who does a full review. They do ensure that we have all of our documents in order and that they meet their expectations through that process. Our proficiency we measure is our ability to anticipate and respond while remaining resilient through any incident. And with that, that concludes what I wanted to share with you today, and open to any questions and feedback.
Any questions? No. It's a great presentation. I would welcome the opportunity to become familiar with some of these emergency response plans. I think that for us as trustees, a lot of these are external. And so if any of this stuff was going on, we most likely would be getting phone calls from people asking, how are you guys managing that? So it'd be nice to be familiar with some of these.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Ms. Ramirez, is there anything that we need to go into executive session about?
No, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Can you please then review the action items from this meeting?
Yes, ma'am. I have 5 action items. The first is from the mayor, and it was a request for a briefing on more detail for the risk register and with the correlations or overlay of how this goes along with the financial profile of the enterprise and alignment with our rating agencies. The second was from the mayor, and it was a request for us to follow up with Alamo Technical Institute on their trade development programs to see if they align with our labor programs. The third was from the mayor, and it was a request for an analysis of our infrastructure modernization and changes with any trickle-down impacts on efficiency through things like safety, labor efficiencies, amount of maintenance takes for upkeep and response or outage times with a working example of overhead versus underground lines. The fourth was from Committee Chair Dr. Gonzalez, and it was a greater understanding in the next meeting of the impact or success of the additional training that we provide for our labor programs and an understanding of the metrics used to measure program success. The fifth was from Board Chair Romero, and it was a greater look at what our heat injury impact to our workforce is and what career-long trends might look like to employee health rather than specific incident impacts. That's all I had.
Thank you. All right, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn? Move to adjourn. Second? Okay. All those in favor, I guess we adjourn. All those in favor, yes? And yes, okay, thank you.